All right, Henry, here's your video on how to make Spanish rice. You really only need 4 ingredients. Long grain rice. El Mexicano is what I have right now. I generally use Mahatma, but again, I'm just using what I've got in the refrigerator. Onion or onion powder. Onion powder is probably better for, so you don't have to worry about fresh onions going bad or cutting them or anything like that. You need chicken broth, and then any kind of salsa is fine. You generally want to use a mild red salsa or medium salsa. We generally use the Herdez brand. You can find that at the grocery store pretty cheap. I'm just using what I have, which is this brand at the moment. Okay, you are going to need a pot to cook it in. It should be anti-stick. You can use like a stainless steel pot if you have to, but you just need to make sure that you have a wooden stirrer, because you actually have to fry the rice. So the pot must have a lid. It won't work if you can't cook the rice properly unless you can seal it with a lid. So that's important. Okay, getting your ingredients ready. You're gonna need a 2 cup, I have a measuring cup that does 2 cups for every 1 cup of rice. So I've got a cup of rice here ready to go. Now what's interesting is you'll notice that I haven't filled this up to 2 cups exactly. The reason is because I only put 1 3/4 a cup, is because the rest you fill up with salsa. That's what gives it the red color. Okay, now I'm gonna take the salsa and put it inside of the 2 cups of, or 1 3/4 cups of the chicken broth. So you just kind of throw it in there. 2 big scoops is probably enough, maybe 3. Okay, so there we go. We are pretty much on the nose on 2 cups there. It's hard to see because this measuring thing is a bummer. Anyway, so now I've got my my chicken broth, which is a little more than a 1 3/4 cup, 3 scoops of heaping tablespoons of salsa. You don't need to use a tablespoon. I just had to because I've got it in, well, in this thing. So anyway, so you can just literally pour it straight out of the Herdez, the canned salsa, or sorry, the glass jar salsa. Okay, now you got to stir this and mix it up. Okay, real easy. Just get a spoon, stir it. Oops, I forgot an ingredient. You do have to fry the rice first, and you do need some kind of an oil. You can use cheap canola oil or vegetable oil. I use virgin olive oil just because that's what I've got. So what you do with that is pretty simple. You just take some of that olive oil, right? And you basically put it in the pan. Like a tablespoon is probably fine. You can put more in if you want to, but you don't want it too oily. Okay, now that my oil is in there, right? You're gonna want your stove on medium heat. Our stove doesn't really do a great job of showing high versus low. So low is almost all the way down. That's high, and so just kind of in the middle. So medium heat on your stove. Always medium heat to fry the rice. When that is ready to go and all heated up, then you're gonna fry the rice. I'll show you how to test to see if it is hot enough. Okay, it's been heating up for about a minute. So the best way to test it is just throw a grain of rice in there and see if it sizzles a little bit. Yep, it's sizzling a little bit. So now the trick here is not just throwing the rice in, but throwing it in and stirring it immediately. You have to stir it. And you have to constantly stir it, constantly, never stop stirring it, okay? Just keep stirring, never stop stirring, ever, ever, ever. Don't go away from the stove. Now, the hard part of knowing when the rice is no longer, is when you can stop frying it. is when it starts to brown. But that's kind of hard to tell with some rices that it's browning, and sometimes you'll overcook it. So Grandma used to give me a really good tip was when you're stirring the rice around and it starts to sound like you're stirring a bunch of BBs, like when the rice starts sounding like a BB, being, like little steel BBs, then you know that it's done being fried. So I'll get the video back on once I get to that point. Okay, it is ready. So I just finished, I was stirring that whole time. So now you're gonna come back to your sauce here, which is again chicken broth, much of chicken broth, and some salsa to make a total of 2 cups for every 1 cup of rice. And you just pour that puppy in there. At that point, you can add your onion. Just shake a little bit of onion powder in. You don't need a lot. It doesn't always come out easily in these kind of cruddy ones. And the trick here is you stir that onion, that's it. Important, turn the burner all the way down to low. Put the lid on and start your timer on your phone if you want to. You need 30 minutes. That's it. Come back when it's done in 30 minutes. Do not, under any circumstances, do not lift the lid. Don't lift the lid. Leave it on. That's how the rice cooks. The lid has to stay on the whole 30 minutes. Okay, still cooking. It's only been about 5 minutes. I did move the pot to a different burner because this one I'm going to use to cook something else. But either way, I just, you can move it to another burner if you want to. Just turn it on low, so you can see all the way on low. It's supposed to be on low so the rice simmers. And so you don't burn the rice on the bottom of the pan. You don't have to use as big of a pot as I did for only what essentially is 1 cup of rice. This is just the pot that I grabbed, and that was basically anti-stick. So you can also add, if you want to, I mentioned the salt before, you can add salt to it, right? I'm not going to do that because I like it low sodium. The chicken broth, you could just buy regular chicken broth instead of reduced sodium, and you don't have to add salt if you do that. You can also add Tapatio to your sauce, the 2 cup thing. So you can put a couple, things of that in, but, generally I don't do that because not everybody likes, like some people like Tabasco, some people like Tapatio, some people like Cholula, right? And so I generally don't do that. But if you're making it for yourself, you can throw some Tapatio in there. Don't put a lot. There's salt in Tapatio, a lot of it. So you can always put the Tapatio on your rice later. Now, you can also put other things in your rice. I like my rice a little spicy, so I threw in 1 jalapeno. So you can get a fresh jalapeno if you want to. I just used a canned jalapeno. And I also put some, what are called piquillo peppers, which is kind of like the same peppers that are inside of a green olive. So again, you don't have to put that in there. I just like to put a couple extra things in it sometimes to make it more flavorful. I may even add a little bit of Mexican oregano. But, knock yourself out. Do whatever you want there. But kind of the core recipe is what I showed you. Again, you can go to a regular onion if you want to. And if you do just decide to chop up an onion, you really don't need a lot. And the onion, you actually, if you're going to use fresh onion, when you're frying your rice, right, after it's all ready, then you throw the onion in and, heat the onion up a little bit, then put in your juice, so to speak, or your, 2 cups of stuff for every cup of rice. Now, if you want to make more rice, you can do 2 cups of rice, but you just need 4 cups of your juice. And so, of course, you'll need a little bit more salsa. But the salsa is what really makes it red. So don't forget to buy a jar of salsa. Again, the canned is fine. Please don't insult anybody. Don't use paste picante. It's gross. Stick with Herdez if you can. If you can use a fresh salsa like I did, I think it can make it taste better. But again, only 3 tablespoons roughly for every cup of rice. 6 for 2 cups of rice, so on and so forth. So again, you just double the recipe. Okay, still cooking. Hasn't been barely 10 minutes. I still got 21 minutes to go. As tempting as it may be, don't lift the lid. I'm gonna say that like a billion times. Don't lift the lid. If you lift the lid at any time after you start steaming it, or simmering is what we say, not steaming. That's what we're doing, is a low heat in the pot, anti-stick pot, right, is simmering, okay? Don't forget that. On a side note, right, you can use a rice cooker. It's like a machine that you just buy. And most of these rice cooking machines actually have a simmer option. And you can actually do the rice frying and stirring it and making it feel like BBs. You can do that inside one of those rice cookers. Most of them have a simmer setting or a cook setting where you keep the lid off, right? So you don't put the lid on it's like a rice pressure cooker is the best way to describe it. So you have to fry the rice, right? So the main reason people use rice cookers is because they make white rice, just steamed white rice. So there's no frying involved with that. You have to fry it or you don't have fried rice. Important, don't forget that. So we have one of these things. I've still got it in the cabinet. It's called an Instant Pot. And our Instant Pot has a saute. So I use the saute setting on ours. And again, you just leave the lid off and stir it right in there. This won't be stainless steel. This won't be anti-stick. That's fine. You can make that happen. Don't forget, you still got to add the oil and everything just like I instructed, and stir it till it's like BBs, and then you can throw in your juice. So, all right. So see you in 20 minutes. Okay, we're not done yet. We're more than halfway there, but you'll see there's steam coming out from this regular old pot. That's good. That's what you want. That's cooking. So the steam coming out is part of the cooking process. That's how you know you're on your way. We only have about 13 minutes left. I almost forgot. Important tip. Which burner do you use? A little tiny one? A big honking one? A large or a medium? It's hard to see, but this is my medium size burner, right? Most places only have a large and a small, but generally speaking, you do want the burner should coincide with the size of the pot. So this is a pretty big, wide pot. In fact, too big for just 1 cup of rice. So you'll see when I open it, it'll be a pretty thin layer of rice in there, right? So I basically fried the rice on the large burner because I have it, or the mega burner, because it's a big pot. And then I moved it to that burner to simmer. And now that there's about 8 minutes left, I actually went ahead and moved it to this small burner because I just realized it's kind of harder to see for me to hold my phone over here, and there's stuff in the way. So I just kind of moved it up here. Make sure that if you are moving burners, that you turn the burner on first to heat up the burner a little bit. That way the cooking is continuous.